Okay. All right. Well, we welcome our digital audience today. My name is Patty Agnew, and I'm the pastor of these 4 United Methodist churches in Park County in Livingston, Montana. And I am glad that you have joined us today. God has been speaking to me this week, and I believe that life is more of a journey. Life's more about our experiences along the way than the destination that we're coming to. And so we're going to talk about that today, how we can wander into grace as we walk through life. So we're going to start with Psalm 23, and I'm going to invite everybody to say this along with me as I read it. If you know it, join in. If you don't, that's fine. But I'm going to read Psalm 23 for us, and join in as you can. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters, and he restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. So surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. Well, the Lord is our shepherd and leads us along life's way. Life is full of challenging climbs and mountaintop experiences and dark valleys and pleasant strolls. As a hiker, I find that metaphor, life is a journey, to be very meaningful. Because I do believe that life is more about the journey every day than our ultimate destination. For each leg of the journey has the potential to teach us about who God is, to shape our character, to deepen our faith, and to teach us how to live this life. And so for the next several weeks, we're going to look at how we can approach the different parts of our journey so that we might wander into grace, that the goodness and mercy of God will follow us all the days of our life. That's what wandering into grace is all about. So, what type of journey are you experiencing these days? Are you climbing up a hill? Are you enjoying a pleasant stroll along the river? Or are you maybe encountering barbed wire like we did yesterday? Are you standing way up on the mountaintop, or are you down in the dark valley? We will look at all those different experiences, but for today, we're looking at those times in our life when we have to wait, those seasons of waiting. COVID-19 has imposed a type of waiting upon us. It has changed the way we live our lives day to day, and we have to wait until science and medicine can catch up with the vaccines and therapies to control this virus. So meanwhile, we social distance and we mask up and we wash our hands a lot. Now, waiting has always been a spiritually challenging time for me. When I've been forced to wait, it often feels like I'm wasting time. After all, I have things to do and places to be, and I want to get there. But is waiting really wasting time? Let's turn to scripture, because I do believe that God intends seasons of waiting to be seasons of shaping us, seasons of developing our character. So we're going to look at those Israelites. After they were under oppression and living in Egypt under Pharaoh, they were slaves, and the more they thrived, the more oppression they were put under. And all that time, they had been calling out to the Lord. And when the time was right, God was hearing all along, but if the time was right, God raised up Moses as a leader. and imposed plagues upon the people of Egypt and delivered the Israelites from Pharaoh. You might remember that dramatic story where the Egyptian army is on the tails of the Israelites and they come to the Red Sea and don't know what to do, and God parts the Red Sea so they walk through on dry ground with walls of water on the right and on the left. Well, in the midst of all of that, listen to this account in Exodus 13, verses 17 and 18. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through the Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the Promised Land. God said, if the people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led them on a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the Red Sea. Thus the Israelites left Egypt like an army ready for battle. So listen to that. God did not lead them on the main road, on the shortest route to the Promised Land. Even though there were many paths, there were military routes and there were trade routes. So I want to show you a picture of this. So this is just from my Bible. I'm hoping you can see that okay. So over here is Egypt where they started, and this, the red line, is a proposed journey that the Israelites took. And their ultimate destination's up here in Jericho. And you can see there's other direct routes, but God took them on this really circuitous route to the Promised Land. And it took them about 40 years. It was a journey that could have taken a couple weeks, even on foot. But God led them for over 40 years in the wilderness, going from place to place to place. Why did God do that? Why didn't God, just like the people have been through enough, why didn't he just give them the short route to the Promised Land? Well, the text said God was worried that they would want to go back to Egypt when they encountered opposition. And that's exactly what happened. Those Israelites grumbled over and over and over every little thing, frequently saying, God, why'd you lead us out here in the wilderness? We want to go back to Egypt. You see, there was something more important that God had in mind. There's something more important than ending up in the Promised Land. God had work to do on the people. They had lived under oppression for so long. It was all they knew. And they did keep wanting to go back to what they knew. We don't like change either. Along the way, they had lost their identity in Egypt. They had lost touch with their traditions, with their God, and with God's expectations of how they live. And so God needed to shape them back into his people. And so God led them on a roundabout journey to shape them. And they wandered in the wilderness for over 40 years. Was that wasted time? Or was it wandering into grace? When we find ourselves in a season in between, when we're waiting for the next thing to happen, we need to position ourselves to allow the journey to shape us into our best selves, to develop our character, to deepen our faith, so that times of waiting are not wasted, but are productive. We can wander aimlessly, or we can wander even deeper into God's grace. And so the skill that we're looking at to help us with that is the skill of being attentive to God. Waiting can be a productive time if we use that time to listen, to reflect, to be fully present in the moment, and to listen for God's still small voice. Because God is truly present everywhere, and God always envelops us with grace. strengthening us and giving us what we need on each day. So that passage continues as they move on in their journey, and verses 20 to 22 say this. The Israelites left Succoth and camped at Etham on the edge of the wilderness. The Lord went ahead of them. He guided them during the day with a pillar of cloud, and he provided light at night with a pillar of fire. This allowed them to travel by day or by night. And the Lord did not remove the pillar of cloud or the pillar of fire from its place before the people. And so we know God was with the people every day and every night, but he knew the people would doubt that. He knew that people would forget. He knew that people would let the fear get the best of them. And so God wanted to have a way to remind them every day that God was present, leading them, guiding them, strengthening them. And so God was visible by a cloud during the day and fire at night. For over 40 years, God led the people in that way. And so let us take our cue from God and the Israelites. Let us look for that pillar of light in the evening and pillar of cloud during the day. Let us be present to each day, focusing not too much on the destination, but learning to be present in the moment. Because God is with us. And as we open our eyes and ears to God's presence, we will discover that God is our good shepherd. In times of waiting, as we ask questions and reflect, we will discover God is there leading us and guiding us. Even when, or maybe especially when, we can't see how everything's going to work out, or maybe God's not doing it in the timeline that we set out. In those times especially, we need to seek out God and allow the time to do its work on us and shape us into the people God would have us be. We will discover abundant life along the way when we do that. So I want to close with a story that kind of illustrates this. For me, it's been a defining story in our family. It's from a few years ago. As I'm sure you all know by now, I really enjoy hiking. Countless times in my life, I have been had significant experiences while hiking out in God's creation. And so I wanted to pass that value and that experience on to my children. And so when they were little, my daughters, we would walk around the neighborhood and we'd pay attention to our surroundings and look for the flowers or the creatures that we encountered along the way. And I would tell them about mountains. And once they got strong enough and could walk far enough, we would go up to the mountains and hike. And so that day finally came. We were living in North Denver at the time. I think my girls were 5 or under. So 2 and 4, maybe 3 and 5, something like that. And the day came and we were going to drive 50 miles up to Rocky Mountain National Park and go hiking there. And so you know how it is with toddlers. The day started with loading up the minivan. And it's always amazing how much stuff you need. You need your car seats and your blankets and entertainment for the ride and the snacks and the wipes and the pull-ups and food and all that kind of stuff. So it took quite a bit of time just to load up the van and get them buckled in. But soon we did that and we started driving. And as kids always do, about 10 minutes into the journey, are we in the mountains yet? Like, no. It's going to take over an hour. You can see right now we're surrounded by buildings and busy streets. And when we get in the mountains, you'll know because the roads will be really windy and you'll see trees instead of buildings. And that is the mountains. So just hang in there. So fortunately, I brought along a bunch of CDs and we did a lot of singing along the way. At the time, our favorite was the Phil Collins version of Tarzan. So we sang that and a lot of John Denver. And their favorites were Grandma's Featherbed and Thank God I'm a Country Boy. So John Denver will get you anywhere. So we finally arrived at Rocky Mountain National Park And the ranger directed us to an easy trail that went to a waterfall. And he encouraged us to park in a big parking lot and take the shuttle bus to the trailhead because the parking gets so full at the trailhead. And so we got to the big parking lot. I got the kids out of the van. We put our hiking boots on. We put our sunscreen on, and we got our bug spray out, and we got our backpacks loaded and put our backpacks on. And we crossed the parking lot and got on the big yellow school bus, which was the shuttle bus. And they asked, "Are we in the mountains yet?" I said, "Yes, we're in the mountains, but we're not on the trail yet." And so we got into that bus, and it was a bumpy old school bus ride around the windy mountain roads. And we finally got to the trailhead, and we got off of the bus, and there was a porta potty on the other side of the parking lot. And I thought maybe we should take advantage of that. And so we did, but it was their first experience with the porta potty. And I think we all have a fear of falling in, but when you're 2 or 3, that's especially a fearful experience. So it's all I could do to get them to use that porta potty, but they did. And then we were ready to cross the parking lot and get to the trailhead. So we did that, and when they were already kind of tired and complaining a bit and grumbling, and I thought, oh my goodness, we have a long way to go. But we got on the trail, and we got the dirt under our feet, and we could smell the evergreens, and we walked about 10 yards, and Natalie scampered onto a big boulder that was on the side of the trail, and she got up there, and she crossed her arms, and she says, "Natalie, done." I was like, oh no, you are not done. We are just getting started. Even though it's been a couple hours of all this adventure, we are just starting the hike in the mountains. And so I let her have a little rest, and then I encouraged her to keep going. And eventually I was able to coax her to continue on. And as we did, we came to a meadow full of wildflowers. And you know how beautiful those are, all different shapes and colors and sizes. And then we came to a grove of pine trees, and I encouraged them to breathe in deep and to smell that scent of the pine trees. And then we climbed a little peak and got a great view of those magnificent 14,000 foot peaks that you find in Rocky Mountain National Park. And then we found some rocks to sit on, and we ate our lunch. And as we did that, a chipmunk joined us, and we enjoyed watching that little chipmunk scurry around on the rocks. And then we continued on and came to the waterfall. And the waterfall, there's so much water with so much power, and it's just spectacular. Waterfalls are one of my favorite. So refreshing to watch that, so beautiful. And then we turned back and did it all in reverse. Now, had I allowed Natalie to remain on that rock, she would have thought that mountains are all about a long car ride, lots of singing, a bumpy bus ride, walking across a hot asphalt parking lot, and a porta potty. She did experience a short 10-yard journey on the dirt path of the trail, and she did experience that cool boulder, but if she stopped there, think of all that she would have missed on that journey in the mountains. She would have missed the magnificent view of the Rocky Mountains. She would have missed those beautiful wildflowers and the scent of the pine trees and the cute chipmunk and that spectacular waterfall. There were many great rewards, experiences of grace along the way in our journey. Life is a journey. It's not always easy. In fact, there are difficult switchbacks to traverse, steep inclines to climb, there are hot deserts to cross, and there are sore feet to manage. There may even be dangerous wildlife and hazards like rock hopping over a creek along the way. At times we struggle to live in the way that Jesus teaches us. We get stuck on the rock and we cross our arms and we say, "Patty done." But when we do that, we miss out on all that God has for us. And so in seasons of waiting, may we listen, may we reflect, may we seek God so that the time can be productive and not wasted. May we allow God to shape us into the people that God would have us be, and use the time to deepen our faith. Then, along the journey of life, we truly will wander into grace. So I found a new song, just came out a couple weeks ago, by J.J. Heller. She's a great singer-songwriter artist, and so she wrote this song just recently and recorded it and put it out there on YouTube. It's called You Already Know. And it's about the experience that whatever's going in our life, God is always with us. God already knows and will see us through. So may it be a word of comfort for us in seasons of waiting and struggle.
Hey friends, it's JJ and Dave, and we wrote a song with our friend Leslie Jordan 2 days ago. And normally we would spend some time in the studio making a beautiful recording of a song, and then we'd share it with you. But we're all stuck in our houses and we can't get into the studio. So
we wrote this song about this time right now.
That is so true. So we didn't want to wait. We wanted to share it with you right now, even though after this video, you may search the internet and there is no recording. there is no song in existence of this. All you have is this. So we hope that it's an encouragement to you. It's called You Already Know. Everything around me seems uncertain. My weary heart can't take much more surprise. I wish there was a point on the horizon, something I could see with my own eyes. I need to tell you that I'm scared. I feel completely unprepared, and nothing's what it was 2 weeks ago. But you already know. You already know everything I'm scared of, everything I hope. You hold my tomorrow, and all tomorrow holds. You already know. I can't seem to find the easy answers. Someday I hope the suffering makes sense. I just need to know that you are with me, even if you keep me in suspense. We talk so much these days because I have so much to say. You stay and listen to me closely, even though you already know. You already know everything I'm scared of, everything I hope. You hold my tomorrow, and all tomorrow holds. You already know whatever I'm feeling, whatever is coming, whenever the ending, you're already there. You go before me, you go behind me, wherever
Our benediction for today. As you walk on your journey of life this week, may you wander into grace and unexpected joy. Remember, you are not alone. God is present and guiding you every step of the way, and surely goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. Amen.